Before we start power hosing the engine, we are still removing some parts that shouldn't get wet, like the alternator and the filters and so on.
Hi, I'm Ben.
And I'm MP. We love the ocean, so we decided to make it our home by buying a massive wooden schooner, which is unfortunately sinking.
A lot of people believe our boat is doomed, but we refuse to settle on that thought, and we are willing to do whatever it takes to bring it back to its former glory.
Join us on this refurbishing journey and wish us luck. Hey guys, welcome to the engine room. What we're going to do today is clean the engine and clean the engine room. We really want to transform this room in a room that's best for the engine, better for the equipment we have here, and also better for us to be working. But the first step is to empty it, because we want to wash with a power hose, we want to wash the engine, we want to wash the floor, but here we also have electrics. We have all the batteries, we also have the controllers of the batteries, so we really need to take them out before we can start cleaning. But before we start the transformation, we would like to show you how it is now, so we can compare it later to what we can do here.
Hello, so our engine is pretty dirty, as well as our floor and just about everything in this room. And I can speak from experience, because every time I've been down here, no matter how dirty my clothes were to start with, I come out dirtier. The engine will not only need power hosing, it will need cleaned in many other ways, but the first step is the power hose, and we can do that now because the floor of our boat is not there anymore, so the fresh water will just drip straight down. But if you see how close our engine is to our electrics, now we are going to remove them firstly so we don't get them wet with the power hose, and secondly, we don't want our electrics and our batteries in the engine room. It's not a good environment for them. So I'm quite curious to see how this is all going to go. I hope you are too. Let's get started. So this is the engine in its current state. So not only does our engine need to be cleaned, as you can see, the floor is horrible on the boards. These should be white and clean, but mostly under here, this is just full of dirt from diesel, oil, salt water, anything you can imagine. So hopefully this will all be clean and proper and not making us dirty. And just also, it's very good that we have a clean hole. You can see if there are issues, where they're coming from. So back to the engine. We have some parts that are not even made for engines. This is a putty that's holding on a hose to another hose, another clamp holding a hose onto a hose, another piece of non-engine equipment attached to a rope holding it up. Over here we have some more putty holding a hose onto a part of the engine. We're also gonna change our through holes and taps, because I've tried to close them and they've almost all snapped off. We have lots of parts of our engine which are not looking as new as they once were, so let's see what we can do about them. We had, as you might know, some issues with the belts. We now know that they are not aligned, the two wheels, which just wears out the bands a lot faster than they should wear out. And we would like to make sure there aren't any leaks in, or as little, well, no leaks in from our engine. I'm gonna pass you over to MP, who's gonna explain something about the other side of this engine.
So on this side, we have the two alternators that of course we want to take them off and have them serviced and maybe replace some pieces, because we know that a lot of quick fixes have been done around here.
Gambiarra.
Some gambiarras, the favorite word, the Brazilian word that Ben says a lot. What I can say here, we already did a couple of improvements because we had to travel and we wanted to have a safe trip. This little filter here has like a glass around it, and that had a crack. And because of the crack, we had, of course, some diesel leaks, so we had to replace it for the trip. Now we don't have any leaks coming from there. Here we changed the filters inside. Over here, this didn't have a filter, so if there was any dirt or anything, it would just suck it inside the engine. So of course we add the filter here. And these hoses got replaced by us already. They were completely rusty and old. These ones are not new. They were spare ones that we had on the boat, but they are already a lot better than the ones that were here. So we replaced them, but maybe we need to replace the replacement. This piece here is a custom made piece because the original was broken. This was not made by us, we bought it like this. On this part there is a sensor that should be here, but it was completely rusty, and as the engine is not in a good state, we want to wait a bit to put the sensor, so we just put a screw to shut the hole. And yeah, those were the things that we changed already about the engine so we could have a safer trip. But of course, the service that needs to be done from now on will be a lot bigger than just those little replacements.
Our main goal is to clean the engine in the engine room, but also everything that should move on the engine and isn't moving, like taps and bolts and screws, we're going to make pieces that don't move, but also pieces that are moving that shouldn't move, we're going to make sure that's fixed as well.
As well as hoses that might be dry and cracky, we're gonna replace them and probably sand off the rust and repaint it. That's the exciting bit. We're really excited about that.
We have a very good paint idea.
Yeah, we'll see if that happens. So no promises that we cannot make. And yeah, let's go over the electric part now.
All right, what we're gonna remove before we start hosing, we have a bunch of batteries. This light, I think we can get away with having this here still, but mainly solar panel chargers and the electric switches. We also have a few wires that are not ideally here for when we're going to hose, so we're going to take these off, find a nice place to store them, make sure all the wire ends are not exposed, and same with these. So hopefully we will never have to see them in the engine room ever again, because it's just humid, salty, hot, dirty. It won't be dirty for long, and these will be somewhere else. Once it's removed, there's no going back, so we need to either memorize it or write that down. There's the little hatch open with Orlando having a look at everything, and there's the big main entrance with MP. I don't know, I haven't used it in a while. In the cupboard. So we cannot disconnect. We're gonna wait till last minute to disconnect the 12-volt controller, because that is what this light is connected to, which we're gonna need, unfortunately. All right, that's one controller panel removed. This is the one that we were using for our two solar panels that were powering our 24-volt battery. So I'll pass this up to MP. This is not gonna get broken already. MP's gonna help pass us some light over here, because I'm going to disconnect the 12-volt panel and this light's going to disappear. So MP's going to cut the zip ties holding up the light on the other side, so we have some light over here.
Okay guys, what's happening here?
We're almost done with this battery system except for these wires, but the panels have been removed and the wood that was holding the panels on has been removed. Now we just need to lift up these batteries, which are heavy and in a very awkward position, and then we'll figure out what to do with these wires. So. Finished! Look at that! All done. Let's get some fresh air. Oh my head, I hit myself with a battery. What's happening now?
We are disconnecting the power from the starting engine. ¿Entendés por qué se llama haki-naki?
Haki-naki, 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 haki-naki.
You might know by now that Ben is half Dutch, and this tool we are using here in Dutch is called, forgive my pronunciation of course, rakinjak. And we are laughing here because that's the sound it makes when you're using it. Listen to it. Rakinjak, 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 rakinjak. Ay, ay, ay. So we just removed this step from the marinization of our engine
Why?
because we want to treat it nicely.
Treat it nicely,
Yeah.
just like you're treating me. So before we actually power hose the engine, there are some parts that are easily to remove. So I'll just replace MP down here. I'm just gonna see what we can do. Some parts aren't even meant to be on this. So what makes this so much harder is every single one of these bolts and screws is just completely rusted. So nothing turns, nothing works like it should. Look down there. It's the second time I've dropped that wrench down while trying to unscrew these. So let's go get it.
Your girlfriend is a tiger now.
What? Why? How did that happen?
I don't know. I rested on something dirty.
That's funny. Show.
Wow.
So we need to remove one bolt that's really hidden.
Because it's always like that. If you have 10 bolts, you take 9 very easily and the last one will always be very difficult. So here we are.
It's like Buzana's a beanie thing.
No. Really?
No.
Oof, we almost fell.
Okay.
Yeah, you cannot see it because we also cannot see it almost, but well, now no one can see it.
What?
The bolt, it turns on the other side. So what I'm doing here, it looks like not much, but it's important because I'm holding the other side of the bolt while Ben tries to turn
Okay,
the other one. And we have a blinking light. what actually ended up happening was that we were starting to disconnect some pieces of the engine so we could wash it, but then we realized that some of the pieces, they don't need to be washed, they need to be sandblasted so they can come back to life. So we are still taking pieces and more pieces out of the engine to take for sandblasting, and yeah, that's what we're working on now.
So today we have removed all the batteries with Orlando's help. Now we are not going to touch them until tomorrow because that's a heck of a job.
And we are really tired.
We removed the air filter for the turbo,
The tap,
the 24 volt
the pump,
alternator, the pump that sucks salt water into the engine.
the escape.
Why are we doing this? So we can have them all serviced so that when we put them back on the engine, we have bolts, especially bolts that if something happens we can remove a piece and change it, because at the moment all the bolts are like
Sand.
rusted together to dust. So we're going to lock up, go home, think about how we are going to reach some of the bolts that we didn't manage to reach today, because that is brain exhausting, and
We'll continue tomorrow.
I'll continue tomorrow with that stripy face. Look at that. Cha!
Well,
It's the alternator for the 24.
oh! What? Is it heavy?
Not at all. Going.
Ahí está girando.
I think I have it. I'll drop it down the bit there.
No.
Ok, saiu.
Got it. Alternators have been removed. They are there no more. The wires are still a little bit in the way, so we're going to move these wires away, get the power hose and hose it all down. So the 12 volt alternator is now also off. Why did it take so long? We were trying to get this bolt out of this side, but after looking closely you can see there's another bolt here that's, I think, is also holding it in. So we ended up taking the whole mount off the engine, and that worked. So all these rusty parts can be replaced, the alternators can be serviced, and the engine can be cleaned. So engine is cleared up. We have taped off areas where water shouldn't go in. Orlando's gone to plug in the power hose and turn on the hose and power, and then we're going to hose down. This is also so full of sawdust, so we're going to see how this looks after. I'm quite curious. So a lot has been hosed, however, the best solution is just gonna be the parts that are really dirty, to just remove them and clean them properly, or even sandblast them. The floor is best to take out because it's a removable floor, and give that a clean, even sand down and repaint. The engine parts that can't be removed, it's best to just get a good cleaning product and a good sponge and give it a good scrub. So this engine has a lot of parts that need fixed or replaced. So in a normal case you might want to remove the engine, but as removing the engine is not going to be the case here, we're removing the parts piece by piece, and now we are removing the water. We have already removed the turbo, the muffler system. Now it's the water cooling tank, tank. But these screws have been in here for a long time, so it's taking a long time. But yeah, so bit by bit it's working. Here, just so you see what the state of our metal is in the boat and the engine. That's a piece that got removed.
Wow.
Let's continue. I think someone should be in the engine room filming right now. Old engine's in a salty boat. All the screws are already cut off and it's still super difficult to undo. So let's see how that goes. Esse é só pedacinho de madeira. Agora ali. So now this big hose came off. This is now loose, but some reason this is going inside and we can't unscrew this. So maybe we'll have to just cut these off and figure out that later. So this has a tube inside that goes in. And we just found 3 screws underneath that we're gonna undo. And hopefully that'll work. Next piece we're gonna remove is the water tank, the cooling tank. So water reservoir. Find everything where it's connected to and voila.
Okay.
That was hefty. This just came out of the engine room, off the engine. I think that's one of the biggest parts as well. Well, one of the 3 maybe biggest parts. It's good to have that out, give it a good clean, give it a good service, and put it back on and the paint.
O que estamos fazendo?
Tirar a polia.
Ah, tem que tirar o parafuso, né?
Nós já tiramos.
Já tirou?
Já tirei uma,
Ah, tá aí.
só que ela está muito trancada. Esse aqui eu vou tirar toda essa junta, esse cavalete aqui eu vou tirar fora para trocar todas as juntas. Aqui provavelmente tem um vazamento, tá? Aqui tem uma solda, dá para verificar, revisar. Aqui provavelmente tem um vazamento e... certo?
So, translating everything, these here, all the gaskets are old and that's why we had so much leak of salt water that made the engine look this rusty, but we're gonna work on this so it's going to look good. So here we are removing the pulleys because during the trip here we broke 3 belts, so we know the pulleys need to be serviced and aligned and everything else. We just removed one that I'm calling this one a cookie because it looks like it's being bitten off here and there. So yeah, a cookie pulley. This one will be replaced for sure. This other one, maybe by sandblasting we can save it. We don't know yet. What I'm helping here to replace is where the fresh water flows. So yeah, I'm just helping and learning. I thought I finished when I did this one, but I forgot there was a second one. But this one is quite loose and I can even do it with my fingers. Wow. Funny thing, here we have all the screws of all the pieces that were taken off. It will be quite a puzzle to put back. Thank God we have Elio that are gonna help us. Wow! So this fresh water flows in here to cool the system. É para refrigerar a água fria.
Isso aí é uma linha de refrigeração.
So fresh water flows in here to cool the system, and it's nice that we can take the piece off, because everything that we can take off will be easier to treat and clean and sand and paint. So this could be taken off. We're going to replace some gaskets, and yeah, another piece is out. On the engine we have 4 of these pieces here that they avoid vibration. So the metal of the engine and the metal of the support of the engine, in between them there is a thick rubber that's anti-vibration. When the rubber is being used too much, it shrinks and the metal start touching, so there's no anti-vibration anymore. And that's the case here. Not on the front, but as our engine is a bit like this, the 2 back ones, the rubber is gone. So we're going to replace one now, take it off so we can take it to a shop and find exactly the same model, to then replace all 4. So today we finished taking some parts of the engine apart with the help of Hélio and also the help of my dad. And yeah, now they're all here resting on this mattress. What do we have here? This is
The first part of the exhaust,
Yeah.
where the water and the exhaust smoke gets gets joined over here. It's about connected to the turbo. Anyway, next piece.
It looks like a mummy because this is to protect us from burning ourselves, because this gets really, really hot. Then these are like the connections
They connect to the
of these things.
water tank.
But they are cracked and we need to replace them. Here is the 24 volt alternator. Here we have the fresh water, it's also part of the cooling system. Here is the marine system of the engine, because it's a truck engine.
Where the salt and the fresh water goes through.
This is what goes inside of this and is what exchanges the heat. This over here, I
Turbo.
need help. Looks different from here.
The other side looks. That's the turbo.
There's the turbo. This is the other alternator, the 12 volts one. Connection.
Pump that pulls the salt water out into the engine from the sea.
The filter
For
over
the turbo,
there
which
for
goes
the
on the
turbo.
other side.
And
That's where the turbo is connected. Elio might know what it is.
ok. O que é essa peça aqui?
Intercooler, ele refrigera.
Ah, intercooler. Okay.
This is the intercooler. And those are all the pieces that we managed to take out so we can clean them and prepare them and repaint them from a better angle.
The engine will look spotless.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. As this episode was a bit in a dark room, the engine room, we brought you to this sunrise. I hope you enjoy it. And yeah.
Okay, so this episode was a bit different than usual. There wasn't much boat building, but the engine had to be done. So you can send lots of parts off and know what we need to order before we need to put it back together. So we'd rather have that ready. But
Of course, we didn't finish yet. You'll see there'll be a part 2 and a part 3, and we'll see how many others.
Yeah, so we just want to thank everyone for supporting us. Thanks for watching, subscribing, commenting, and also thanks patrons and PayPal donations, because
Thank you
that's helping
so
us
much,
out
guys.
loads. So we'd like to thank James
Todd,
and Tracy,
William,
Paul,